Well, you are. I'm just, the screen's down. Hi, everybody.
And I will go to it and keep track of any comments or questions here. So, there we go. I can see it now.
I have to get close to you.
Please do. All right, there we go. I got what I need. We're set.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, I should turn this down so we don't have echoes. Happy Thursday, everybody. It is 13 degrees and sunny in lovely Wasaga Beach, Ontario.
It's very windy. Very, very windy.
Yeah, we're supposed to get like 90-kilometer-hour winds because it's 13 and sunny in Wasaga Beach, but it's going to be 0 tomorrow.
And so, it was 0 yesterday. It's very bizarre.
The lifelong dream of being a meteorologist. Meteorologist?
Mark loves the weather.
I watched the forecast, and there's a cold front coming in. And when a warm front is in, and it's as humid and warm as it is, and a cold front comes in, it usually is pushed in by wind. And the more significant the drop, the higher the wind speeds.
Well, anyway, we're here again on a Thursday. Nice to see you all. We had a brief hiatus because we had March break, and then, I don't know, we were getting back in action last week, and then this week we've been struggling through some colds. Kids are home again, but all is good.
We have taken 4,922 rapid tests because of me. We have been all different points sick since Saturday, and not a positive yet, and it's Thursday, and I've been testing everybody probably 3 times a day. We probably have more rapid tests than meals per day. And I even took a PCR test for myself a couple days ago, and so it looks like the regular cold knocked us down.
It exists, apparently.
Here we are, till the next one. Anyway,
okay, well, we're coming to you today with a new topic. We've gone through a few topics over the weeks, but now we're going to talk about, if you want to make another move in your career, if you want to push to the next level, if you want to seek out a new opportunity in another organization. It feels kind of daunting, especially if you haven't been job seeking for a while. So how do you even start that process? And I know for Mark, his biggest thing is about building your network up before you kind of enter into that phase, right?
Yeah, like what I'd like to talk about today, because I think it'll add some value. I mean, and again, I've said this before, I don't train things I haven't done myself and they haven't worked. That's my big qualifier. And I have jumped around in my career, and it's always been for a promotion, and it's usually across industries. And that is because it's come from that network of people that know me and know what I do. And you're not a fit for everybody, so you got to find the people that you are a fit for. So in this session today, what I'd like to talk about is, how do you position yourself so you can build a network? Then how do you engage with that network so they get to know who you are and the value you bring? And then how do you find out a little bit about companies you're interested in and then make that connection? And maybe in next Thursday's Lunch and Learn, we'll talk about prepping for the interview.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, they prep for the interview, but they don't treat it the same way you treat business development, which is finding out what your client needs and why you can add value and how do you position what's important to them and then allocate your experience with specific behaviors and examples to show that you're a match. People go to companies' websites and come back and talk in the interview about the vision and values they read about, so they look like they research, and that's not what hiring managers are looking for, or the majority of them. And that's the beauty that I think it can add some value in these 2 sessions with yourself as well, is we've been on both sides of the table. We've been on I'm looking for the gig, and oh my God, I'm trying to find someone to fill the role. And I've done it from entry to president, both applying and hiring senior managers and senior VPs. So I think we can help some people out. But this week I want to talk about, how do you start building that now?
Well, I should mention too that this is something that you've kind of started doing in your consulting practice too. Like a lot of people who know that you've been, a leader of teams who've liked working for you, how passionate you are about people development. Mark started to get a lot of people come to him saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm going for this new job. Can you help me with my interview prep, or how do I talk about this that I don't have a lot of experience in, or how do I speak to my leadership skills when I haven't necessarily led a team before?" And so Mark spent a lot of time over the last couple of years counseling people through those scenarios and decisions and putting them into scenarios specifically to kind of walk through it. So I just wanted to mention that because people do seem to value your input on this part.
Yeah, and it's something I've been doing for people, but quite frankly, it's not one of the services that we market or advertise. And I want to build a course on it, actually. I think it's going to be the next course that I build. But yeah, I've worked with friends and family who've said, you've done this, can I have 30 minutes of your time? And as we talk through it, luckily the majority of the people have been successful in achieving and receiving the job offer that they wanted. But yeah, there's some stuff I've learned along the way, and there's also, you got to get by it's just like sales, right? You got to get by systems and bots and like, oh, what word is showing up on your resume that a recruiter gets that resume pulled. The good old-fashioned days of hoping the recruiter would get to know you, they're not there when you send in a resume. If your resume isn't written just like a website for SEO, there's a good chance you could be the right candidate, but the resume isn't speaking to it. So strongly recommend you look at professionals who do that. I don't. But what I want to do is help you build the network so you can get in front of those people without the resume worst case scenario, or the resume is just a supporting document to a relationship you already have. That's your quicker path to success. But there are great people who write great resumes. Martin Buckland, who I'm amazing executive recruiter, and he can help you with resumes. So look for that guy. He does a lot of these little videos, but there's a ton of people out there. But Kevin Shurton, but definitely Martin Buckland as well. Anyways, we're going to talk about networking today. See, I rambled and I got off. But if you came here for me to tell you how to write a perfect resume, it's a complementary skill to building the relationship first. That's the way you stand out. And I'm going to teach you today, hopefully, how to build that with recruiters in this conversation. Where do you want to start?
Sounds good.
What do you want
with recruiters specifically?
Yeah, big part of it.
Okay.
Because recruiters are on LinkedIn, and they're always looking for people for their clients, and they're building their prospect pool the same way people do in sales.
I think sometimes people think that recruiters are only looking for senior level executives, but that's not true, right?
No,
like they look for all positions.
It depends on the size of the organization. Sometimes you want to get in front of the HR people in the organizations that you want to work in and try and build some connections with them. And again, I'm going to talk about that here in a bit. But recruiters hire at all levels. Do they necessarily do entry level? Yes, but it's a different recruiting firm. But the premium boutique recruiting firms are usually manager and above. That's a fair comment. But so I'm going to teach you how to find the people regardless of the role that you're looking for today.
And is it okay to seek out a recruiter or start relationship building with recruiters if you're in a specific role right now, but you want out of it and you want to move into something else? You can
absolutely. I would tell you, even if you're happy today, and again, I mentioned Martin Buckland earlier, he does a really good job of stressing this. Maybe you're not looking for a job today. Maybe you think you're never going to find it and want to look for another job. It doesn't harm you to build a relationship with recruiters because someday it might not be your decision and you need another job. And recruiters are people just like us. There are some of us who are really good at what we do and some of us who are really bad at what we do. And some of us are really good because we care and some of us are really bad because we don't care. Some of us are really bad or really good because we've been trained. Recruiters are the exact same. They're people. If you start to try and build a relationship with a recruiter the minute you need a job and you're providing no value, just like me trying to sell you something and I know nothing about your business, it's a tough sell. There's no trust. So building relationships with recruiters are critical, but you got to add value to the relationship, or why would they want to connect with you? Why would they want to talk to you? And that involves transparency, and it also involves having a profile that would have a recruiter look at you and say, kind of save them for a rainy day. I do want to connect with that individual, but again, we'll talk about that.
So how do you add value to a relationship with a recruiter? Okay,
so think of it this way. In business, we get opportunities all the time where someone needs a service and we say, I don't really do that, but I really know someone else who does it really well. You reached out to Mark because you trust Mark and you've worked with Mark in the past, but you need someone who is an expert in Six Sigma or lean process. Not this guy, right? I've had people on my teams that do that really well, but you've reached out to me because you trust me and I'm not going to put people in the wrong hands. And so what I would do is refer you to someone in my network who does that. You could be doing that for recruiters today as you build a relationship. Like, hey, you know what? I'd want to connect with you. I see that you're with Corn Ferry or Hayes, or I mean, there's a bunch of them. I'm probably not naming the right ones, but and I'd like to stay connected because I want to grow my career. Hopefully, it's with my current employer, but someday you never know. And I think in the meantime, I'm very connected. I might be able to help you out and send some referrals your way. I'll stay close to your job postings. That is part of that battle of building those relationships. You have to add value before you need anything. Because if not, you're showing up to a recruiter desperate and there's no networking there. And the only way to get through to that recruiter is now back to that resume, of which they're getting hundreds of, and all those keywords in your resume and how they're written getting pulled and put to the top of their desk versus being in their network and having some type of relationship. And recruiters want those relationships. Now remember, recruiters are just like people. Some of them are really good and they care, and even if they have bad news or they have nothing for you, they're going to reach out and they're going to follow up. But I've had recruiters in executive role that were all hot to trot with me until I was no longer the final candidate. And then you never heard from them again. It's not right, but just deal with it. It's just the reality of the way some recruiters are. They are not all that way. The best recruiters know there's a relationship, and they'll be like, Mark, got to tell you, you were right in there. You're one of the final 3. Thanks for meeting with their board, but they went in a different direction, and here's my sense of why they picked the other candidate. All right, at one point I was was recruited and then interviewed for Toronto Metro Convention Center. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And it was the general manager of the facility. This is years ago. And I went through the recruiter, and they really liked me, and I went to their offices, and then I interviewed with the recruiter, and then I interviewed with the senior leadership team, and I didn't get it. But like, that's okay, that's gonna happen. But I was left with a negative experience from the recruiter because they never followed up and told me I didn't get it. Right? And so, just like them, am I going to be looking for referrals when someone I know says I'm looking for the job and pushing them to that recruiter?
Well, and you think that
I don't want them to be treated that way. They want to
close the loop with you to then say, but Mark, we know like you've got this great skill set. We're going to keep you in our,
Right. But the justification is they're busy and they work for their clients, not the candidate.
Right.
And it's short-sighted. And so what I'm saying, that is not a critique against a recruiter. Some recruiters are that way, just deal with it. Don't be that person as the person in their network who's looking for a job. When you don't get the job, reach back out and say, thanks for the opportunity. Listen, I know a bunch of people. If you still are in that search and you're looking for someone and I wasn't a fit, happy to share some names. If you have anything in the future, please reach back out. And if I'm not the person, we can set you up. I can set you up potentially within my network. You have to give something to get something in life most of the time. So why would recruiters be any different? They have a job to do.
So what
that cross eye was Dad's cross eye because Griffin's been hanging around the door. If you didn't notice that.
How do you recommend starting this process? Like you
Yes.
get onto LinkedIn, and how do you find the right recruiters for the type of work you want to do? How do you
back it up a step? Back it up. You got to start with your profile. Okay, right. So many people just jump on LinkedIn and they haven't done anything with their profile. And the thing about LinkedIn is it's a pretty good automated system to tell you if you've done well in setting up your profile, and it gives you a score and says you're X% complete. Your profile could be better if you do. What you want to do with your profile is literally speak to your career, your experiences, but speak to the behaviors that have caused those results and put results in there, any accomplishments. But then when you're posting on LinkedIn, this is where I want to go next. If you reach out to a recruiter and they connect with you, that's great. But if you never engage with them, and it could be simple as liking one of their posts. It could be as simple as commenting on something. It could be as simple as transparently sending an email that says, I'm sure you get bombarded with incoming emails from candidates. I am specifically looking for the next challenge in my career. Here's why I think I can be of value potentially for some of your clients. Write a little bit of a reason about your background and history. I would love 5 minutes to jump on a Zoom and explain further. Worst case, let's stay connected. If you're not adding any value to them, they're probably not going to connect with you. And if you're not engaging with them, they're not going to remember you. So that goes for anything with your LinkedIn profile.
Aren't you a big proponent of sending a message with a LinkedIn request always?
Oh, for sure. You shouldn't just try and connect.
Like, don't just say connect on LinkedIn and hope they're going to accept. You have to add the additional note at the bottom that can say whatever you just said, right?
Yeah, you got and customize it and be transparent. Like, hey, listen, you know what? I'm in a bad situation.
Preparing for my next opportunity.
But you could be even. I've realized I'm not a fit where I work today. I've been there for 5 years. I'm driving great value. Here's how I believe I do that. Here's what I believe my next fit may be. I'd love to connect and talk further. Be transparent, because the recruiter's going to ask those questions anyways. But here's what I see out of a lot of people, and it's going to sound like a criticism, and it's not, because what it's going to do is it's going to drive you to the answer. We start to get pissed off at work and we want to leave, and we know it. We know we're not a fit anymore. It happens, and I'm not blaming the employee and I'm not blaming the company, but we get there, and the longer we stay, we get frustrated. And the longer we get frustrated, the more desperate we become in firing out our resumes everywhere and wondering why no one's responding. It's because you haven't done the work in advance. So even if you're happy today, start to build that LinkedIn network. Start to build it with everybody, not just recruiters. But if you write proper content and you share posts and you comment on others' posts and you share other people's posts, of which I've been terrible lately because everything's about me and what I do. It's my marketing platform. Plan to continue to add value there. But if you continue to do that, people will engage and they'll remember you. And they'll also know what you're about. So as you continue to progress upwards in your career, if you're getting into the senior management levels, LinkedIn's a great place to build your thought leadership platform. And everyone seems to think that means I've got to write blogs. And you can. I write a bunch of blogs. Some of them are good. Some of them aren't. But they're all very clear about what my position is as a leader. You drive business results through people, and you need leadership processes and behaviors to do that. And everything I share is about that, or either sales behaviors to set people up for success. It's my thought leadership position. It's what I believe in. But it's not always because I write a blog. I might share a Gary Vee post, or a Simon Sinek post, or something from HBR, or something from Fortune, or something from, right? And all these things start to tell the people in my network what I believe in. And some of those people in my network are recruiters. Some of them are senior executives in HR. Some of them are business owners. And here's what happens for those individuals in my network. If I'm consistent with what I share, what I comment, and what I write about, they know what I'm about. And some will come when there's an opportunity, and some will say, ooh, Pettipa's not my type of leader. And that's okay, because now they know what I believe in. If it's an organization that goes, oh no, he's going to come in and he's going to implement training to drive results versus just being directive and follow the KPIs and cut people when the time comes, and you laugh.
You're not the guy.
I'm not the guy. I'm going to hold people accountable, but I'm going to make sure they know the behaviors first, because that's on me if they don't. Once they know the behaviors and they're not willing to perform them, that looks a lot different. But I'm very clear in that. And so if you're not in LinkedIn, no one will understand that. You won't have a network of recruiters. You can't drive value. They won't know what you believe in. So why would they engage with you?
Makes sense.
Right?
What if a position is, or does it always have to be with recruiters?
Chris Roth, buddy, if you're still here, we are going to be done at 12:30. Chris says, this episode is so great. I don't want to bail, but I have a 12:30. I'll watch the replay. Thanks, Jody and Mark. Hey, dude, enjoy the replay. Appreciate the support.
My question is, I've found, I in my middle management career, because I haven't been a senior executive before, but a lot of the positions are just, they're posted on LinkedIn and they're not necessarily gone through a recruiter, or they're not necessarily recruiting for them. So it's the internal HR department that's hiring. I've found great value too in when you're in this networking phase, you're not necessarily just networking with recruiters, you're networking with people in other organizations that that are maybe places you want to go, you would want to work one day, right? For example, I worked in the agency side, so we worked with a whole bunch of different clients, and so I have LinkedIn relationships with a lot of these people. And when you're in the agency world, a lot of people will say, oh, I want to go work client side one day. Like, everybody wants to work for the client because that's where the money is. But I've been able to keep up those relationships, maintain those relationships, so that if an opportunity ever comes up at one of those spots, I feel comfortable enough that I've maintained that connection to go and say to one of them, hey, do you know much about this role? Hey, would you mind putting in a good word? That kind of thing. And I feel like while I have connections with some recruiters, not every position is posted with a recruiter, and therefore it's good to keep that networking going just with other colleagues in different industries or different organizations that you could see yourself wanting to work in.
It's a great point. Like, we're talking recruiters, but you got to remember, you're right. A lot of the job postings aren't with recruiters. So how are you, even industry, right? Like, Sean Keeper, I'm happy to share how that came about. Like, I got my first president opportunity with Dunsire because Sean had heard me, I think, speak at an industry event. Then we connected on LinkedIn. Then he saw my post. And then we had breakfast probably 6 months before I ever left Fusion and said, here's what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, here's what I want to do and grow. And it wasn't even about a job opportunity yet. But certainly we were building that relationship. And then I decided, to make the decision at Fusion, and we had taken a few months off and we're cruising, and I got a call on the cruise ship from Sean saying, hey, can we have a deeper talk now that you're in the market? All of that came from a conversation just about industry and our business. But he started to know my thought leadership position, and I started to know a little bit more about him. Those are the things that, to your great point, Jody, that happen outside of recruiters. The next point that I was going to share is, like, who are your raving fans and mentors, right? Like, when I would get into a position like, I'm thinking a career change, I might not be a fit. And that, for me, I've joked about it before, is like, I call it the pedipie itch. About 6 years into a role, I usually need a new challenge. Hopefully that's not the case with my business. Yeah, if you look anywhere in my career, it's usually 4 to 6 years. So MLSE, and I went VP of TPH, did that for about 5 years. I went to Fusion for about 6, and new industries each time, and promotions. It's just me. You got to kind of understand who you are, because there's a bunch of stuff about you that you don't even want to face that's holding you back. So the stuff that you do know about yourself, you've got to address and deal with that. But for me, it was that 6-year itch. And as I was getting towards the end of each of those itches and realizing the fit wasn't there anymore for my career development or to contribute to the organization in the role, because I wanted different, I wanted change, I didn't have that same focus in that role anymore, I started to investigate in my network. And for me, it's always been my mentors and my raving fans. Who knows me, believes in me, that I have a good relationship with. And I started there, like, hey, FYI, here's what's going on. Or can we go grab a coffee? Can we have a beer? Or a note on LinkedIn saying, I'm really trying to create change. It's not happening. I'm stuck. And I'm really thinking of considering something. And I'd love to talk to you about what I'm looking for in case something comes across the plate. That comes across your plate. Because you need more spider legs out there, right? Like, and Bob, as an example, with the convention opportunity, that was through Bob, because Bob's always been there for me. Right. But I always try and add value.
But you have to maintain those relationships so that they think of you top of mind when those types of opportunities come over their plate.
Too many people realize they want to change, and they're starting from there.
Right.
And unless you land on the opportunity right away and it happens, a job search takes a long time. And unless you have a bunch of money put away, you're going to become more and more stressed as that window of opportunity closes. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick something you really don't like. And then your resume is going to start to show up like 3 months here, 7 months here, 9 months here. That doesn't look too great to recruiters. So it kind of gets you trapped. So build your LinkedIn profile, share, you don't have to write posts. You can share posts, reach out to recruiters, be transparent about who you are. Even if you're not looking for a job, be transparent. Say, if I can help you in the future, send me your postings. This is what I do. I'll send you referrals. I'd be happy to do that and start to build those networks. When you are looking for a job, and prior to looking for that job, stay close to your raving fans and your mentors. Stay close with them. Just stay in touch. How can you help them? What's going on? So when that day comes, you've got both those networks built who understand you and know you.
And stay in touch into those industries that you can see yourself wanting to work in with those people, like I said.
Yeah.
Because I think there's no harm in saying, things are getting stagnant where I'm at. Here's where I can see myself going. I would love to work for an organization like yours one day. Would love you to keep me in mind if you see anything come across.
Yeah, I
like the same as the mentor relationship, but it can be people in
industry-based,
cross-functional.
Your peers, cross-functional, etc. Because you're right. Because it doesn't even need to be a mentor. It could be someone who you work parallel with who knows you.
Because it actually has happened to me too, where it's like, oh, actually, that role is not necessarily my department, but I have an opportunity coming up. Like that's happened to me too, where it's like if I hadn't have connected with her, she wouldn't have told me that there's an opportunity coming up in her side of things, even though the role I did ask her about wasn't hers.
Yeah, and I think that's really...
You just never know.
Yeah, that's the thing, you never know. If I can give anyone counsel on preparing for that next role is, you never know you need that next role until you're in that spot. And if you start then, it's too late. So you can build networks and you're not even looking for a job. You're just building networks and staying in touch with people. But you got to provide value for them as well, right? And how can I help you as we stay connected? So once you've done that, you've got your industry connections, your mentors, your LinkedIn, you're sharing so people understand who you are. You're liking posts of people you're connected with. Sincerely, don't like a post to stay connected with someone. You have to like the content because that will show up quickly. As you start to look for that next opportunity, and next week we're going to talk about like how do I prepare for the interview and how do I research. But as you're starting to look at organizations, I want to leave you with this teaser for next week. People have a tool that I never had growing up. Like I walked into a bad job blind, right? You interviewed, whoa, everything seems fine. You go to their corporate website and they talk about workplace culture and engagement and how much they love their people and do drinks on Friday and have social events and everything looks great. Go to Glassdoor. Go to Glassdoor, go to Indeed reviews, talk to your network of people who work there, get their feedback. You are so empowered as a candidate not to make the wrong decision compared to where I was when I started in the industry. Now keep in mind, if you're on Glassdoor and 17 reviews are great, and I would say great is like, are they 3.5 stars above? Do 75% of people approve of the CEO? You can trust that's a pretty good work environment. You are just like everywhere going to get people who didn't have a good experience. It's just like Google reviews, right? So if one person says, oh my God, this place was the worst place ever, never work there, but the next 4 are great reviews, keep in mind 80% of the people are happy and that's a pretty good result. But you can find out what it's like to work there before you make that decision.
People are also more likely to take the time to leave a bad review than a good review.
I used to agree with that, but if you look at any Glassdoor reviews I've done, the majority of them are positive.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, just like Google reviews, employees are being encouraged to write positive reviews about the work environment. And guess when they're asked to do that? When they're in something I learned from Paul Heyman about the transition curve, when they're in uninformed optimism, right? Because everything's great in the first few months. Oh, if you really love it here, don't forget, right? 13 months later, I know what it's really like here. And so there's a risk with any review site, but you will see consistency in the reviews of whether it's a great place to work or not. And don't make your decision just on that, but it is part of the decision making. Don't just go to the website for them saying how great it is there, and I hope they are. Go and validate it. Talk to your network if you know people who work there before you go through all that effort to apply. So,
Matthew left you a comment.
Oh, Matthew left me a comment?
I think.
Oh, I can't see the live chat. Oh, here's the overview. No, can't see. Oh, there it is. Yeah, killer live stream, Mark and Jody. Very insightful for anyone looking to focus on their own network. For those that thought Mark was just a great hockey player. Okay, Matt played on the Oakville Nailers with me, and he's being kind.
Great.
Yeah, ball hockey player, average, who knew to hang around with the right people who could win. But anyways, story of my career, right? Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Nice to see you again, brother, or hear from you. So there you are, right? In 30 minutes, this is, you can't just rely on a resume anymore. It's honestly, it's too hard to write a great resume that's going to stand out. You know, resumes used to land on the desk of HR, and they would look at them. Mm-hmm. Now they'd quickly look at them and go, right?
Even that was hard.
Well, and it's who you get. So I remember one senior executive, and she's gonna know I'm talking about her. And I don't mean this negative because she's wonderful, but her and I had a different view, and I didn't mention it that day. But a candidate at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment went through the full effort to put the resume in a hockey skate. And they put the hockey skate in the resume, and like
sent in a physical
hockey skate with the resume. And I thought, like, how creative. And they thought, their perception was, well, that's someone who just wants to work here because they're a hockey fan, and that's not necessarily what we want to hire. And that resume didn't get an opportunity because of that individual's perception of that.
Right.
Now that used to be the risk, was that the person who read it didn't like it. Now multiply that by 100, it's not even getting to that person's desk if you haven't hired a professional to help you get the right search terms that get pulled to get it on the recruiter's desk or the HR person's desk. That's why I'm telling you, get ahead of it, build relationships. People trust relationships. People start to know who you are. It takes away the risk of looking at your resume for no reason because you already have that either created with the recruiter or you have someone in your network that's going to say, hey, Petipaw's on the market. I got to tell you, you're going to love this guy for about 6 years. But you got to love him. He's going to bring a bunch of energy. He's going to drive your team. Your results are going to grow. Then he's probably going to disagree with you, the owner, and tell you he can do it better after 6 years. So get a good run of 6 years with this guy. But that's the thing that people will share for you, right? And it's all about reducing risk for the hiring manager because they're on the spot. And I don't think recruiters get enough sympathy for that or understanding that, they're endorsing the person they're putting in front of the company. And if a recruiter says, hire this person, and they do the interviews, and the interview goes well with the hiring manager internally, and then they turn out to be a dud, that looks really bad on the recruiter because the company paid for those services. So they're managing risk too. And the best way to minimize that risk for a recruiter is let them get to know you before you ever need the opportunity. Okay, 2 minutes over this week. But next week we talk about
so we've done all this networking. We've been doing it for months. We've found a few opportunities we like. We've applied, and now we've landed an interview.
Yes.
Okay, so next week we're going to talk about how do you prepare for an interview in a new organization, maybe an interview in the same organization you're in currently. Yep. Is that different?
Also want to talk about cover letters for your resume. So like sometimes you will get an opportunity from a reference and they'll say, okay, I saw this stuff. Get him to send me a resume or get her to send me a resume. I'm going to teach you how to write a cover letter that speaks to where you fit with the organization's desired output and what that looks like. So you can really personalize that cover letter. And you won't do it for every company that you apply to because it's just too much research. These are for hot lead and referral, like, hey, I've got you an opportunity. HR would love to see your resume. How do you write that cover letter that works really well and stands out for that person that you've just met and don't know yet? But yes, the majority of next week is going to be how do you research so you can really show that organization.
Wow them in the interview.
Wowza.
Wow.
Wowza.
Alrighty.
Bon jeudi avec jeudi.
See you next Thursday.
Cheers, everybody.